Imagine living with unshakable peace. No matter what happens, no one has the power to disturb you. Criticism, insults, and problems no longer steal your calm. Sounds impossible, right? But the Stoics did it. While the world reacted with anger and frustration, they remained serene, not because they didn't feel emotions, but because they learned to master them. Today, I'll show you how you can do the same. If you apply these lessons, you will never get irritated or bothered by anyone again, not because the world changed, but because you changed. Let's start with a harsh truth. Anger is not a sign of strength. It's proof of weakness. It means you've lost control of yourself. Anger doesn't arise from what happens to you. It comes from your interpretation of events. Think about it. If someone insults you, does the insult itself have power? No. It only affects you if you allow it. Psychology confirms this. A Harvard study found that anger impairs decision-making by up to 40%. It clouds judgment, leading to actions we later regret. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, called anger a brief madness. He knew that most conflicts start over nothing, a misunderstood word, a minor frustration, a small disappointment. So, why do we let anger control us? Because we believe deep down that the world should behave as we expect. But reality doesn't work that way, and that's where the problem begins. Anger feels inevitable. Something happens, someone disrespects you, and immediately you feel that explosion of irritation. But what if I told you that anger is not caused by the event itself, but by how you interpret it? Imagine two people stuck in traffic. One is furious, honking and yelling. The other is calm, listening to music. Same event, different reactions. If the situation were the true cause of anger, wouldn't both people react the same way? Science supports this. A Stanford University study found that emotional responses are shaped more by perception than reality. In other words, it's not what happens that makes you angry, but how you see it. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, said, "It's not events that disturb us, but our opinions about them." If someone insults you, the words themselves are harmless. They only hurt if you decide to take them personally. And here's the real danger. When you let anger control you, you become a puppet of the world. People, situations, even strangers can manipulate your emotions with just a few words. But what if you trained yourself to see things differently? What if you rewired your mind to stay calm, no matter what? That's exactly what the Stoics mastered, and that's what we'll explore next. Many people believe that anger is a sign of strength, that exploding, yelling, and asserting dominance means you won't be disrespected. But is that really true? Think about the most powerful people you know. Do they lose control easily? Or are they calm, collected, and strategic? A Harvard Business Review study found that leaders who remain calm make decisions 31% more effectively than those who react impulsively. That's because anger clouds judgment. It makes you act on impulse rather than logic. The Stoics understood this. They saw anger not as power but as slavery. Because when you let rage control you, you're no longer in charge of yourself. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic, wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike those who wrong you." In other words, if someone disrespects you and you explode in anger, you've lost. But if someone provokes you and you remain indifferent, who really has control? Look at history. The greatest warriors, philosophers, and leaders were not the ones who reacted emotionally, but the ones who remained unshaken. If you still believe anger is a sign of strength, ask yourself, can a raging fire control itself? No, but a controlled flame can light the way. The next step? Understanding where anger really comes from. And it all starts with expectations. Most of our negative emotions come from one simple problem: unrealistic expectations. We expect people to treat us a certain way. We expect life to be fair. We assume that if we work hard, we'll succeed. But when reality doesn't match our expectations, we feel frustrated, angry, even betrayed. Psychologists call this the expectation-reality gap. A study from Yale University found that the bigger the gap, the stronger the frustration. In other words, the problem isn't what happens, it's the difference between what we wanted and what we got. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The pain comes not from events themselves, but from the illusions we created. Take relationships, for example. If you believe your partner will never hurt you because that's how things should be, a betrayal will feel devastating. But if you accept that humans are flawed, you won't suffer beyond what's necessary. The same applies to daily life. Expect traffic to be smooth, you'll be angry when it's not. Expect everyone to like you, you'll be hurt when they don't. If you want to stop getting irritated, stop demanding that the world meet your expectations. This doesn't mean giving up on goals. It means preparing for all outcomes, so nothing catches you off guard. And that's exactly what we'll explore next. How ego fuels anger. Anger is often just a wounded ego. When someone disrespects us, ignores us, or treats us unfairly, we react with rage. Not because of what happened, but because we take it personally. We believe people should treat us a certain way. We assume others must recognize our worth, and when they don't, our ego feels attacked. But here's the truth. Most of the time, people's actions have nothing to do with you. They're acting based on their own problems, emotions, and experiences. Think about it. If someone insults you, does that really change who you are? Only if you let it. Psychologists explain this through cognitive dissonance. When we receive criticism that contradicts how we see ourselves, our brain goes into defense mode. A study from the University of Michigan found that when our ego is challenged, the brain reacts as if we were physically attacked. But here's the catch. Ego makes you fragile. It means anyone can control your emotions with just a few words. The Stoics had a solution: detachment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." So next time something upsets you, ask yourself, does this really matter? Most of the time, the answer is no. And if you truly want freedom, the next step is crucial. Forgiveness. Many people believe that forgiving is a sign of weakness, that by letting go, we're allowing others to get away with what they did. But what if I told you that forgiveness isn't about them, it's about you? Resentment is like carrying a burning coal, hoping it will hurt someone else, but in reality, you're the only one getting burned. The Stoics saw forgiveness as a strategy for maintaining control. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike those who wrong you." In other words, if someone hurts you and you respond with hatred, you're still letting them control you. Science confirms this. A study from Johns Hopkins University found that people who practice forgiveness have lower blood pressure, reduced stress, and improved mental health. Holding on to anger, on the other hand, increases cortisol levels and weakens the immune system. But let's be clear, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or accepting abuse. It means choosing not to let past events dictate your emotions. Imagine two prisoners. One is physically locked away, but the other is mentally trapped by grudges. Who is truly free? Forgiveness is not a favor to others. It's a gift to yourself. By letting go of anger, you become lighter, stronger, and untouchable. Now let's go even deeper. What if you could train yourself not to react at all? That's what we'll uncover next. Have you ever felt the urge to immediately respond to an insult or provocation? It's almost automatic, right? But what if you trained yourself to do the opposite? Studies from Stanford University show that if you wait just 6 seconds before reacting, the intensity of negative emotions drops by up to 70%. In other words, most of what we call anger is just a momentary impulse. The Stoics mastered this. They didn't suppress emotions, they studied them. They understood that by observing your anger instead of acting on it, you gain control over it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best way to defend yourself from an offense is not to become like those who offend. If someone insults you and you stay calm, who really wins? The one who yells or the one who refuses to be controlled?" Try this. The next time you feel anger rising, pause. Ask yourself, is this even worth my energy? Most of the time, the answer is no. The greatest power is not proving a point. It's showing that you are untouchable, that nothing and no one can force you into anger. And when you master this, something powerful happens. Your mind becomes quieter, your stress disappears, and you start focusing only on what truly matters. But what happens when people get angry because their life lacks meaning? That's what we'll uncover next. Have you noticed that people without a clear purpose get irritated more easily? A study from Yale University found that 83% of people who feel lost in life report higher levels of stress and frustration. Why? Because when your life has no direction, every minor inconvenience feels like a major problem. The Stoics understood this long ago. They believed that a strong purpose shields you from unnecessary suffering. Marcus Aurelius asked himself daily, "What am I here to do?" When you wake up every morning with a clear mission, small problems stop bothering you. Traffic, just background noise. Someone insults you, not worth your energy. But without purpose, your mind fills with frustration. You feel like something is missing, so you look for reasons to be angry at people, at the system, at life itself. The real enemy isn't the world, it's the emptiness inside. Look at the greatest thinkers, creators, and leaders. They didn't waste energy on petty conflicts because they were too busy building something bigger. Ask yourself, am I dedicating my time to something meaningful or just reacting to life? If you don't have a purpose yet, start exploring, learn, create, contribute. Because when your life has meaning, anger loses its grip on you. And when you understand this, the next step becomes clear, reprogramming your brain to make calm your default response. Many people believe they are just hot-tempered by nature, that anger is a fixed trait they can't change, but science says otherwise. Studies from MIT show that emotional reactions are like neural pathways. What you practice, you reinforce. If you always respond with anger, your brain strengthens that pattern. But if you train yourself to stay calm, that becomes your new default. Think of it like muscle memory. The more you repeat a response, the more automatic it becomes. So why not train yourself to react with clarity instead of rage? Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." But how do you actually do this? Start by noticing the moment before anger takes over. That split second before you react. That's where your power lies. Instead of instantly responding, pause, breathe, observe. The first few times, it will feel unnatural. Your brain will want to fire back. But every time you choose patience over reaction, you weaken the old pattern and build a new one. One day, something that would have made you furious will barely affect you. Not because the world changed, but because you did. The real question isn't, can I change? It's, am I willing to practice? And when you master this, something incredible happens. Love and gratitude replace anger. Let's dive into that next. Anger is a consuming force. It drains your energy, clouds your mind, and makes you a prisoner of external events. But there are two emotions that can instantly neutralize anger: love and gratitude. When you're angry, your mind focuses on what's wrong, what's unfair, what's frustrating, what someone did to you. But what happens if instead you shift your focus to what you love and what you're grateful for? Neuroscience supports this. A study from the University of California found that practicing gratitude rewires the brain, reducing stress and emotional reactivity. It's impossible to feel deep gratitude and anger at the same time. One emotion cancels the other. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you wake up, if you breathe, if you think, you already have more than most." Try this experiment. The next time you feel anger rising, pause. Instead of reacting, list 3 things you're grateful for in that moment. At first, it will feel forced, but over time, this becomes your new default response. You can't control the world, but you can control what you focus on. And when you choose love and gratitude, anger simply fades away. But there's one final lesson. If you truly want peace, you must do one last thing: set boundaries. Let's explore why that's crucial.